And next, we'll open the hearing on Senate Bill 391.
Okay, Dallas Harris for the record, District 11. Chair Flores, thank you so much, and committee for taking the time to hear Senate Bill 391. To my left, I have my session twin, Assemblyman Watts, and to my right, I have Mr. Patrick Burt, who is a vice chairman of the Washoe Tribe of California and Nevada. I want to start this presentation off with a small story. You may be a little confused about why you're seeing this bill. Didn't we do this already? That's what I thought to myself until I heard on the news when a certain former president came to visit Minden. They were talking about how we still have a sundown siren. And I called my colleague here to the left, I think you'll remember this, and said, didn't we do something about that already? How are they still ringing that thing? The truth is crazier than fiction. Turns out they decided, this certain town has decided that instead of ringing it at 6 o'clock, they would move it up to 5 o'clock and call it good. I don't think any legislator in this building, regardless of your political spectrum, appreciates when the legislature sends down a clear directive with clear intent, and whether it be a city, county, or Joe Johnson, and they circumvent it intentionally. Committee members should have 2 articles with them. I just want to highlight this first one from the Reno Gazette-Journal. First sentence, Minden says it will not silence its so-called sundown siren, even if the Nevada legislature passes a law meant to make the town do just that. And guess what? They did exactly what they said they were going to do. And so we're back again. I'm not pleased about it. I didn't want to have to bring this bill. My colleague took care of it. But we got to come down with a little heavier hand. And so the bill that you have before you says, do not ring it. No matter what size your city, county, town is, don't ring it unless there's an emergency. You can ring it on a holiday if that so gets you into the mood. But except for these other circumstances, we've got to shut this thing off. I'm going to first turn it over to my colleague, Assemblyman Watts, to talk a little bit about what this means to him, given that he was the original sponsor of the bill in the 21 session. And then, Chair, with your permission, I'll turn it over to the Vice Chair to talk a little bit about what it means personally for the tribes here in Nevada.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Howard Watts, representing Assembly District 15. And thank you to Senator Harris for bringing forward this bill, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. So when the legislature passed Assembly Bill 88 and amended into that provisions to put an end to the use of sundown sirens in our state, I was excited. The provisions within that bill were pretty comprehensive to try and address hurtful and discriminatory symbols and legacies of our past. And this body took, again, I think, a comprehensive and holistic approach to trying to address that and move forward. And yet there are still aspects that linger today. And this has been a frustrating issue because, as Senator Harris noted, there was some resistance and defiance in some of the statements that were made even while this legislation was being considered. Then, after it was passed, I think the intent was misrepresented, and my position at all times was to try to give some weight and authority and respect from our state government to tribal government. And what I have ultimately learned is that there's been a lot of difficulties in the relationship between the tribal government, the impacted tribal government, and the relevant local government officials, and that sovereignty has not been given the proper respect, and that the tribe and its members do not feel that the changes that have been made since that law was passed are aligned with the intent, and take another crack at this and hopefully get the job done. So that's why I wanted to just come and provide a little bit of background as the sponsor of the legislation in the past legislative session, and why I signed on as a co-sponsor for this bill. And with that, would like to provide time for you to hear directly from the affected community.
Vice Chair Burton, if you would, please.
Thank you, Senator Harris and Assemblyman Watts, Hungum Hamwaheji, Chairman Flores, and members of the committee. Before I begin, I would humbly request to you, Chairman Flores, that we're able to see and view the Grant Sawyer room at Las Vegas, as I'm hoping to present. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see them there. I apologize. So I would like to begin with honoring my ancestors as well as future generations, also elders and youth that are here in Carson City and might be online, and also at the Sawyer room in Las Vegas. Moving forward, I would like to recognize that Chairman Sorrell Smokey of the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California, Chairman Warren Graham of the Duckwater Shoshone Tribe, and Irvin Jim of the Woodford's Community Council are all present at the Sawyer room in Las Vegas. In the room here in Carson City, and I would ask you to stand if you would, Secretary Treasurer Lisa McDonald of the Dresslerville Community Council, Chairwoman Darren Pete of the Las Vegas Paiute Tribe, and Vice Chairwoman Isla Yazi, also of the Las Vegas Paiute Tribe. We come to you today in support of SB 391. So to begin then, for many Washoe experiencing the blatant racism and prejudiced social climate of Minden, Nevada, the daily siren at 6 p.m. is a deafening trigger. It's ironic then that on this 5th day of April, 106 years ago in 1917, Ordinance Number 6 was passed unanimously by the Board of County Commissioners in Douglas County. This ordinance mandated that Indians to, and I quote, leave and be out of the town limits of the towns of Gardnerville and Minden by the hour of 6:30 p.m. each and every day, end quote. Thus, the Minden Siren was born. The legal results of violating the provisions of this ordinance included a fine of up to $25 and imprisonment of up to 10 days on top of the costs of said actions. This allowed for a multitude of inhumane actions to be enacted upon the Washoe and other Native peoples visiting the area. Established in 1906, Minden, Nevada is situated in the Carson Valley, which is home to the Paualu, or People of the Valley, band of the Washoe. Federally recognized as the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California, the Washoe maintain that we have been of this land since time immemorial. The relationship between Washoe and settlers has been contentious since settlers first flooded our area in search of mining prospects and rich farmlands. These competing worldviews clashed and served as a staging ground for conflict. Restricting the presence of Washoe people in particular places was seen as a policy that would help to eliminate friction between the groups, but this would only serve to empower settlers with the jurisprudence to enact violence. The restriction was policed by not only law enforcement, but many white citizens also took it upon themselves to determine and carry out penalties. Washoe elders have shared horror stories of the treatment they suffered. Many acts of violence occurred on a wide spectrum, from being verbally assaulted with racial slurs like, and I'll quote, "Go back to the res, digger," end quote, digger being spelled D-I-G-G-E-R, a racial slur attached to indigenous peoples of our area in California. And I'll quote, "You squaws better get home if you know what's best for you," end quote. These, along with physical and sexual assault. Several Washoe men were beaten and their braids were cut off. Many Washoe women were beaten and raped. These acts of violence go unpunished as the Washoe people did not hold confidence in law enforcement, as law enforcement officials were also co-perpetrators. The outdated ordinance from 1917 mandating that Native Americans, specifically the Washoe, vacate the town by dusk is remembered as the shrieks of the siren continue to project Minden's ongoing racist atmosphere. The social consequences of this ordinance have everlasting effects on the Washoe people and other Native peoples of Nevada. Historical and intergenerational trauma are direct outcomes of these atrocious acts, and the Minden siren continues to be the embodiment of this chronic distress. On behalf of the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California, the Native peoples of Nevada, and the broader Native population, we urge you to join us in our efforts to heal from this legacy of racism by supporting SB 391 in efforts to silence the Minden siren. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman Burt. Mr. Chair, before I turn it over for testimony, I just want to say that frankly, I'm embarrassed that we're still doing this. You know, I don't know if some of y'all have heard this, but Nevada has this reputation to be in the Mississippi of the West. And it is things like this that have that label persist. This siren belongs in the history books. They don't have to tear it down. They can take pictures. We want the stories to be told. But there is no reason why it needs to continue to ring. If you want to celebrate your first responders, throw them a parade. Give them better health benefits. Give them hazardous pay. There are a million ways to show your appreciation. Blasting this siren is simply not okay. And we're relying on this body to make sure that the siren stays where it should, and that's in the past. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Because we passed this legislation, and I believe it was unanimously and signed into law by the governor. And so I was wondering why. What is the reason that is being given for not following the law that this legislature passed unanimously? That's my first question, please.
Thank you for that question, Senator Krasner. Howard Watts for the record. That's a great question. I think it goes a bit to what Senator Harris said, which is, you know, when we originally crafted that legislation, we wanted to be able to allow for its use, you know, for emergencies. We wanted to be able to allow for it to be tested. We wanted to allow even for it to be sounded occasionally for holidays. And so the language that was in the bill was really envisioned around that, and then what it was supposed to do was facilitate a productive conversation on equal terms between the community and the tribe. To figure that out. And unfortunately, what we saw was that was not the case. And, you know, you can hear about the legacy of harassment and ill treatment of the tribe in that community. And so, you know, that intent was, I think, taken advantage of. And the time was moved slightly and maintained on a daily schedule to try and, you know, basically exploit it as a loophole. And so that's why we're attempting to come back and be as clear as possible in reference to Senator Daley's remark, to close every loophole possible and make it as clear as it can possibly be about how we want things to be moving forward.
It's offensive. It's offensive to not just Native Indians. It's offensive to all of us because that is not the Nevada we know and love. Also, a question in Section 1, Sub 2, it says the Attorney General may recover the penalty in amount of $50,000 in a civil action brought in the name of the state of Nevada. Why not shall? Why not shall? Let's make it a must.
Dallas Harris, for the record, to you, Senator Krasner, through Chair Flores. Absolutely. Happy to make that change.
Thank you, and I support you.
Where the bill's coming from and what occurred on this side of the state. But there are a number of communities across eastern and rural Nevada that do have either curfews, noon sirens, and I think this is clearly overreaching. You say Chairman Graham is down in the Grant Sawyer building. He went to school in Eureka. Was he offended by the 9 o'clock curfew? That applied to all children, never enforced, but it's been there for 100 years. Case in point, they changed that siren to chimes, and the community came out and said, hey, no, we want our siren back. I think this is overreach by this body. When you start mandating to some of these communities, there was no racial intonations in Eureka. We've got, live it up to the tribes. Let them, can they come forward? It's just like we did with the mascot in Elko, the Elko Indians. Okay, they still use that. Because they believe in that. That is a source of pride for them as anyone else. So I think it's overreach. I'm sorry.
Assemblyman Howard Watts, for the record, thank you for those comments, Senator. And I, for one, if you have suggestions related to the language, you'll have to talk with the sponsor of this bill. But what we worked to address in the past have been these symbols that are clearly connected to racial discrimination and discrimination against Indigenous people. And, obviously we have been talking particularly about the Meaden siren, and I think the connection there is very clear. And to the extent that there is that clear connection, I think that is really what we're trying to get at. I don't want to speak for the tribe, and so if the vice chair wants to add anything, he can feel free.
Goguchi, excuse me. Through you, Chair Flores. The particular siren in Meaden, Nevada.
Please state your name for the record.
Oh, excuse me. This is Patrick Burt, Vice Chairman of the Washoe Tribe, for the record. The specific siren in Meaden, Nevada is especially attached to racism and prejudice. So not to reiterate some of the points from Assemblyman Watts or Senator Harris, but I would state here, and as a representative of the Washoe Tribe, we have an unwavering and uncompromising position that the Meaden siren specifically should be shut down.
Argument, we shouldn't make one size fits all, because you are impacting a lot of your people in other communities, especially in eastern Nevada. Thank you.
And with that, thank you again for the presentation, and I'd like to invite those wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 391. Sir, I apologize to cut you off. I believe your mic is not turned off. Your microphone? There's a button right in front of you.
Technology.
Please, if you could start again.
Good afternoon. Good evening. I would like to testify in support of SB 391. My name is Marty Meaden. I am a Washoe descendant, and I am speaking on behalf of my family, especially the children. The staff does have my contact information, and I am a retired teacher living in Gardnerville, and I can hear the siren when I am at home. I don't have a lot to say. I just have a lot to show.
I'm going to have to ask you to leave, ma'am. I apologize. 3 things. I want everybody's voice to be heard. That is the whole point of everybody being here. That is the point of why we are doing what we're doing now. This is your microphone. This is your platform. However, we also have to be respectful. I said my point. Individuals can disagree with me, and it will happen all the time. But just because somebody disagrees with you, it does not allow us and does not give us the opportunity to get in people's faces today. That's not what we're doing here. This is also not a platform for you to try to engage somebody so that they react and you try to push them out of the way. Ma'am, so I apologize that I have to do this to you, but I'm going to please ask you to please leave. Please continue.
Okay. So I'm going to start all over, but I'm going to start with this. Racism is so American that when you protest it, people think you are protesting America. My presentation is called Racism in the Outdoors. I have some old pictures of old signs that were prominent throughout our country, and that at the time people said, that's a good sign. help wanted, no Irish need apply. So it's not just an ethnic issue. Prior to World War II, this is not in our neighborhood. We would not allow a sign like this to be posted anywhere in any community today. No ends, no Jews, no dogs. No way would we have a sign like this today. But no whites after dark? No, I'm sorry, whites only after dark? That siren may not be a symbol that we see all the time. It's what we hear. What we see and what we hear, there is no difference. That siren needs to be turned off. Thank you.
I am the Junior UNR princess, and I am representing this.
And thank you for joining us. You did a great job. Thank you.
Hauma no adrene yellow hair. Mina ninan. No kayui takada. No a guy takada. Hello everyone. My name is Adrene Yellow Hair. I'm Walker Reverend Pyramid Lake Payu. I'm the UNR Taita Princess.
And thank you for joining us, please.
Ha'ua, Minani'ia, aloha o ha'ua, Dion John. My name is Dion John. I'm from the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. I am the mother of Kariana Kailani John, and I'm also one of the aunties over here of Audrina. As you can see, I have the future with me. I bring the youth to you that had questions as to why are we here? Why do we have to do this? And I have to sit here and explain to these children that in this day and age, that they are not thought of as people. They are not thought of as human beings because this siren is still going off to this day. The councilman over here said it does not offend people. I am here as a person, and as a native Nevadan. I was born and raised here. I went away to school. I've seen many different things in many different places in my life. Lived in California, but I came back here because this is my home. This is where my people came from. Hearing sirens of this caliber reminds me that I am not important in this world some days. And I have to tell my daughters and my nieces and nephews, you are important. Our voice matters. This is why we are here as representatives, not just of our community, but of all Indigenous communities and all minorities. Our voice is important. She was wondering, why do I have to be royalty sometimes? I said, because people listen to you. Your job is to be out there speaking for people to understand how our communities feel, how we need to be heard in this day and age. He was saying it doesn't affect people. It does. I've gone outside into some of the smaller communities in this state, and it does. You feel that oppression. You feel that unwelcomeness to this day.
Adrian Jim Dikim Dialei, Salatuhu Washuitlu, Lakamutsu Mirahawat Dagalathlei. Hello everyone, how are you? My name is Adrian Jim. My Washoe name is Salatuhu and I'm 14 years old. I carried my crown, my title, Little Miss Washoe, from 2019 to now. I'm here representing the Washoe tribe and my family, and we're in support of SB 391.
Hangamaheji, Stephanie Digomdiat Kalei. My name is Stephanie Mushrush. I'm an enrolled Washoe tribal citizen of the Washoe Tribe of Nevada in California, and I work as a licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist in Native communities. I'm here to express my support of Senate Bill 391 to stop the Sundown siren. There is growing awareness around the long-term effects of historical and intergenerational trauma. The Sundown siren in Minden serves as a tool of colonization that continues to affect Washoe people today. We know that across Native country, historical trauma includes loss of land, culture, language, spiritual practices, and general well-being, and so much more. Manifestations of intergenerational trauma include mental health and physical health disparities far beyond any other ethnic or cultural group. Dr. Maria Yellowhorse Braveheart, an expert in psychiatry and behavioral sciences, as well as disparities research in Native communities, outlines 4 major components of historical trauma intervention. 1, confronting historical trauma and embracing history. 2, understanding our trauma. 3, releasing our pain. 4, transcending our trauma. It has been 106 years to the day since the enactment of Minden's Sundown Ordinance and almost 115 years since that by Gardnerville. To stop the sundown siren in 2023 would put us at step one. Relatives, we have so far to go to start at acknowledging the truth of history, the truth of this siren and its purpose, and the treatment of our Washoe people. Please, let's move Senate Bill 391 forward. Honor the Washoe, stop the sundown siren.
Hi, I'm Lisa McDonald. I'm a citizen of the Washoe Tribe of Nevada, California, and also the Secretary-Treasurer for the Dressville Community Council. And I am here, and I want to thank the two senators, Watts and Harris, for presenting this bill, because it's very imperative that we get this siren terminated. It's long overdue. And I'm, like I stated, I'm a community council representative, so therefore I speak for my community that this needs to come to a resolution. So I am, as well as my community, in support of the SB 391. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.
My name is Dwight George. I am a member of Paiute Shoshone tribe. I am here in support of SB 391. I have attended protests, and I wouldn't even call them protests. I'd say just support for Black lives in Minden. And on that particular day, we were met with plenty of racist remarks. Like one I kept hearing, though, that I did not understand was, "Don't let me catch you here after dark." And then later on, I found out why. And when I found out why, I was angry and I was saddened, but I was not shocked, because this is something that I know, Senator Flores, that you wonder why we aren't here. You want more people like us showing up, but it is a continuing fight just to prove our worth. So it is hard to make anybody see us when a lot of people don't even believe that we still exist or don't even want us here. And to take part in this kind of legislative process when we have someone like Goachia speaking out in ignorance while running away before learning anything, that's the kind of stuff we deal with constantly. And there are some people that say that this siren is kind of a nostalgic pleasure, that it is just something that has always been there. But it's dangerous when you change a tool of hate into a nostalgic pleasure, because there are people that still see it as the same thing. There are people that will always hold on to it. There are people that will always carry that hate with them. And that cannot be allowed to continue. That cannot be allowed against my people or anybody that can be harmed or hurt because of the sound and the thoughts that get put into these people's heads. These people that want to support this, that want to support the continued use of it, have said something like, I've heard different things like it's for first responders, or it's for...
And I apologize that I'm cutting you off, but we have hit the 2-minute mark. But if there's any additional remarks you wish to be on the record, you can always provide those in writing to our committee staff.
Hello, my name is Yavi Melendez, and I'm a member of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and representing today as Miss Numaga Indian Days. I would like to testify in support of this bill and would like to stand in resilience with my Washishu relatives. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Whoever wishes to go next.
Hungumaheji, my name is Tatiana Jim. I am a enrolled member of the Washoe Tribe of Nevada in California. I also reside in Dresserville community, which is located in Gardnerville, Nevada. I am currently employed in Minden, Nevada, so I hear that siren go off twice a day. I am triggered by it every single time. Like it was stated, we grow up hearing horror stories of what that siren did to our people, our elders, our ancestors. So like it was also stated that, it's just something that needs to be left, in the past. It needs to become a part of our history. It doesn't have to be forgotten. We will be passing these stories down onto our children. I personally would like to be able to tell my children about this siren and what it meant at one time. As of right now, it is very, very disappointing that it is still going on, even though it was passed into law already. So I am just in support of SB 391. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for joining us. Please, whoever wishes to go next.
My name is Darren Pete. I am the chairwoman of the Las Vegas Paiute Tribe. Joining me is our vice chairwoman, Isla Yazi. We are here today to speak to the pending Sundown Siren bill you are considering this afternoon.
And thank you for joining us. Please.
Hi, Isla Yazi, Vice Chairwoman. I'm sure you all are aware this bill seeks further restrictions on the use of sirens in communities throughout Nevada. You also know the dark history of the use of these sirens in some places, that of restricting movement of Native Americans and other minorities after dark. The continued use of these sirens, though somewhat curtailed, is a cruel reminder those minorities of past prejudicial practices and the sting of having to vacate certain areas on command, while the remaining population enjoyed freedom of movement.
Darren Pete, Chairwoman. We are happy that the state elected officials recognize this disgusting origins of this practice and are willing to further distance Nevada from those inequitable policies. We of the Las Vegas Paiute Tribe support efforts not only to rid Nevada citizens of continued racial prejudices, but to shine a light of hope moving forward on the recognition that all men, and may I add women, are created equal and should be treated as such. Thank you.
And thank you again. Please.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to express my gratitude to the committee for holding this hearing today. My name is Nicholas Ralph. I'm a co-founder and director of One Source Action and currently reside in Douglas County, Nevada. One Source Action is dedicated to educating, empowering, and engaging communities to connect with Mother Earth through body, mind, and soul. Our organization operates exclusively for these purposes and is committed to promoting a more equitable and harmonious relationship between humanity and the natural world. I want to share a personal story about my experience with the Sundown Alarm. I moved from New York, Manhattan, settled in the Douglas County community. As I started to learn about the history of this beautiful region, I was shocked to learn about the generational trauma inflicted on the indigenous people here, including the use of the Sundown Alarm. As an emotional intelligence life coach, I work with trauma on a daily basis, and I have seen firsthand the devastating effects it can have on individuals and communities. The continued use of the Sundown Alarm perpetuates this trauma and sends a message that segregation and oppression are still acceptable and celebrated in our society. It is acceptable that in 2023, it is unacceptable in 2023 we are still discussing a practice that has been widely recognized as discriminatory and harmful to our community. As a community, we need to work together to ensure that the Sundown Alarm is permanently silenced. We need to listen to the voices of the elders in the Native American community and take action to create a more inclusive and respectful community for all. In closing, I urge the committee to take swift action to eliminate the use of the Sundown Alarm in our community. Thank you again for holding this important hearing. I look forward to working together towards a more just and equitable community. And in regards to needing a siren to go off, your cell phone has a reminder. And as a survivor of abuse and violence, there is nothing cute about PTSD. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Please.
Good afternoon. I am Jennifer Cantley, and I am the founder and president of One Source Action. We are dedicated to educating and empowering and engaging communities to connect to Mother Earth through body, mind, and soul. Our organization operates exclusively for these purposes and is committed to promoting an equitable and harmonious relationship between humanity and the natural world. I want to thank the committee for holding this hearing today. As a born and raised citizen of Douglas County who grew up on Washoe land, I am honored to be here to discuss the matter that is close to my heart. The use of the Sundown Alarm is a reminder that generational trauma inflicted upon the Native American community. As we move forward, it is essential that we recognize that we are part of a medicine wheel, also known as the 4 directions. Each one of us represents the color of each direction: red, black, yellow, and white. We must come together as allies and love one another as members of the human race. We must resist acts that divide us and start talking about accountability for healing emotional generational trauma. The Sundown Alarm was originally created to enforce segregation and oppression. It is a tool that has no place in our modern society. It is unacceptable that it is in 2023. We still are discussing a practice that has a widely recognized as discriminatory and harmful to the community. We need to work together to the community to ensure that the Sundown Alarm is permanently silenced. We must listen to the voices of the elders and the Native American community and work together to create a more inclusive and respectful community for us all. I urge the community to take action and eliminate the use of the Sundown Alarm community. Thank you again for holding this important hearing, and I look forward to working together and towards a more equitable community.
And thank you for joining us. Please, whoever wishes to go next.
My name is Meg McDonald, and I'm a proud member, an elder of the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California, and which is based 20 miles up the road, which you guys probably know. I just wanted to come up in support of this bill, and wanted to also thank Patrick Burt, our vice chairman, for bringing this to the legislature, and also to the two senators for supporting this. And I also want to urge you to please support it. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.
Stacy James. First off, I'd like to thank you all and apologize to my elders if I say something out of turn. My family talked about the siren and passed down stories, and whenever I was young and in high school, and of course I didn't really pay attention because I was a high schooler, but what stuck in my head and was how much my people suffered, and they weren't allowed to walk on the same side of the street. They all had to walk on the left-hand side of the street. They weren't allowed to walk on the right-hand side like everyone else, or on both sides of the street like everyone else. And then when the siren came on, if you were caught after dark, the men were beaten and then just dumped on the side of the road back at the res, and left for their families or people to pick them up and take them home, or they were put in jail. And sometimes the women just disappeared. And now we have the missing and murdered women. And so that's been happening for 100 years, and we still aren't recognizing that, but that's a whole different story. I am a volunteer fireman, and when they talk about the siren, they need the siren to notify you. We have pagers, we have cell phones, and we have radios that notify us. And if we're in Carson shopping or in the lake, you can't hear the siren. So why would they need the siren to notify you for a call? Also, they talk about the ranchers needing the siren to tell you to come eat. You have a stomach that tells you to come eat at lunchtime or at dinner time. You don't need a siren to notify you to eat. You're a grown man, grown woman. You don't need a siren to tell you that.
And unfortunately, we have hit the 2-minute mark, but I know that you're reading some remarks. If you could provide those to our committee staff, and I could have those uploaded to the record so that everybody can see. And if you don't have an additional copy, you could also just email them to our committee staff.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll go to the next person wishing to testify in support.
My name is Michelle Maese, Michellemaese, and I'm the president of SEIU Local 1107, which represents 18,000 workers in Southern Nevada and Northern Nevada, and we are the largest public sector and private sector in Nevada. We thank the bill sponsors, Senator Harris and Assemblyman Watts and Assemblywoman Backus, for bringing this bill forward. We came here to testify on another bill, and I am so glad that we stayed, because as unions, we know we love a protest. But unfortunately, with a protest, more often than not comes a dark past, a history, pain, and trauma, and a continued fight for something that was taken away, or the opportunity to have something that was never once allowed for you to have. Sometimes it's dignity, sometimes it's respect, and more times it's about equality, and that's why we're here today. As an anti-racist union, when I saw these beautiful children and the signs, and everyone standing bravely in an effort to stop the siren, we needed this body to know that on behalf of SEIU Local 1107, we stand in solidarity with you passing this bill yet again, and we believe in your ability to stop the siren now. We stand in solidarity with the true residents of Minden, whose land was stolen from them, and the ability of you to stop the siren. Thank you for acknowledging that it was offensive. We truly appreciate you acknowledging that to this body and to the people here. We support SB 391, and we urge you to do the same. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jerry Burton. It's JeriBurton. I'm the co-executive director of the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women. And we too want to thank Senator Harris and Watts for this bill and unfortunately having to do this again. Nevada now is known for our advocacy for the state equal rights amendment, and this is about equal rights for all. And I do believe, like Michelle said, that this is about equality. I'm also a native Nevadan and embarrassed and horrified as well that this is happening in our state. As we've heard, one of the reasons I read is that they were explaining it, that historically they didn't know this was something that happened since they were children. They didn't know that it was racist. And now they know, and so this definitely, they can't say they don't know now. We know that this is how this is affecting these indigenous community members. We're hearing it today. And it's not something that happened in 1920. It happens today in our state. It's embarrassing. And obviously, it's a historically racist symbol. They know this must be stopped, and we support Minden, and we hope you will too. Thank you.
My name is Matthew Wilke, Matthew, Wilkie, for the record. I live here locally, right at the road off of Highway 50. I am a Douglas High School graduate, and I lived for 15 years off of Douglas Avenue, right behind the couple blocks from the Siren. I am here just to urge you to listen to the tribal members here, listen to the tribal elders that are here. And I can tell, and if that alone's not good enough, listen to the animals. I can tell you, when that siren goes off, my dog goes crazy for a very long time and is not a happy camper. So, number one, listen to the tribal members behind us, the tribal elders. But of course, if that's not good enough, listen to those animals that don't like it either. Appreciate your time.
And thank you, and I am